I almost said happy Thursday. It's Tuesday though, right? I'm jumping the gun. Happy Tuesday, folks. Britt Bomlick here in the 30 videos and 30 days in 30 days project. You'll be happy to see I remembered my coffee. Remember yesterday, I totally forgot my coffee for filming my video, and I felt like I was on half a brain cell the entire time I was doing it. It's not like it's going to make a huge difference, but it's like Linus's safety blanket. Remember his safety blanket or security blanket? My cup of coffee is like that for me. It's so good. So if you're just jumping in, I want to hear how you drink your coffee. I actually put a little bit of organic hot chocolate mix in it, and then I add cinnamon and cayenne, and I stir it really good. And sometimes I add butter and coconut oil and put it in the blender to make kind of like a bullet coffee. So it's like really thick and creamy and full of good fat. So if you're just jumping in, let's see if the comment box is working. Tell me how you like your coffee. Does anyone else in the world put cayenne powder in their coffee? I haven't found anyone yet. It's so good though, especially with chocolate, because it makes it like a spicy sort of Mexican style mocha. Tell me how you like your coffee. It's good to see you. So today yesterday I shared some of the unique challenges and like hurdles and blocks that I ran up against when I was starting my business. And I was saying how I was thinking the other day that there are really unique challenges to all phases of owning a business, and they're different. And I think that it really helps to be aware of them, ideally ahead of time. But even if you're in that phase now, sometimes just to hear someone speaking about the challenges that they're encountering at a similar phase is really helpful. So today I'm going to take you through some of the challenges that I've noticed of having a fully running, I was going to say fully evolved, but it's never fully evolved. My business is always evolving the way that I am, but having a fully running, like 15-year-old coaching business. In-Arms Coaching is 15 years old. I've been coaching for 15 years at this point, and was even doing elements of coaching before that. But In-Arms Coaching is 15 years old, and that's a real success story. In-Arms Coaching has been in existence for 15 years. It has been the sole source of financial support for myself and my kid, with no child support, for 13 of those years, which is also like really an accomplishment. So at this point, I talked about some of the, sorry, I'm distracted by the birds flying outside. They're so pretty. I talked about some of the challenges of having a new or young business yesterday. And today I really want to go into what some of the challenges are of having an existing business that is at a point where it's up leveling. So the point, In-Arms Coaching right now has two main programs, just to kind of give you an idea of what the works look like. Two main programs, Biz Elementals and Alchemy of Success Circle. Biz Elementals is sort of my entry level program. Both programs have myself and 3 team support coaches in them. We have Amanda Lopes, who is our systems and organizational coach, and she also is our accountability coach. We have Calandra Martin, who does branding and social media, visibility, that kind of thing. And then we have Siobhan Strode, who's very new, who takes the place of, she's filling the amazing shoes of Natalie Taylor, who is a copywriting coach. She teaches my clients to write effective sales copy, social media copy, etc., which is a really big need for everyone that I've ever worked with, including myself. Then there's a whole team. So there's Christy Cooper, who does all of my website, all of my branding, all of my design stuff. She is freaking amazing. There's Sarah, who is Sarah Rideout, who is amazing, who's the client care coordinator. And then I have assists from a friend who does copywriting. I have an accountant. I have a bookkeeper. Who am I forgetting? I'm forgetting someone, and I'm so sorry, but I'm just blanking. But the point is that there's a whole team of people. So one of the challenges of having a business that is established and is profitable is that one of the pros is that you're not DIYing it anymore. I do very little other than coach and vision and guide the growth of the business, which is amazing, which is so fun. I don't do any of the pieces that I don't like or I'm not great at anymore. The I won't even say it's a con side, but the other side of that is that I'm managing a team of people. And that's really hard. It involves leadership. It can be really hard. It involves leadership. It involves a great deal of like integrity and care for your team, which is something that I really pride myself on. I can always be doing better, but I really love and care for my team. So I'm watching for like their birthdays. I'm watching for when they're having a hard time. I'm watching for how they're doing in their capacity, how I can empower them to take more initiative or step more fully into their roles. We're always as a group looking for what my team members can take off of my plate so that I can do the things that I love. The business can grow and make more money, and they can create more billable hours and make more money themselves. So there's that whole management piece that you won't have at the beginning of a business probably, but that you really need to grow into. And what I've found is that that creates a lot of inner pieces for some women. There's a lot of resistance to stepping into leadership with a team. There's a lot of resistance to delegating, both from a point of telling people what to do or, being a manager, and also from the point of like, do I get to have this? Do I get to delegate? Is it okay to ask for things? Is it okay to receive things? Is it okay that I'm not doing everything in my business? Will my business be safe if I let someone else hold it? Is it okay to let other people see internal processes and like pieces of who I am? Like, I really had to come to terms with the fact that I often feel like a complete mess. I have so many ideas and I'm always moving. But what that means is that, well, not what it means, but the downside is that I'm super disorganized in my head. I sort of just like shout stuff out. And the way that I've and that makes me feel kind of like a hot mess a lot of the time. And sometimes it's embarrassing to let people into that hot mess. Shout out in the comments if you relate. I don't think I'm actually seeing live comments, but I'll see them later. Shout out in the comments if you relate to fear of letting other people see your mess. But what I've done is, first of all, I've hired people that I intuitively trusted from the start. And secondly, I've hired women who compensate for my weakness. So everyone on my team is super organized. Everyone on my team is super accountable and really takes initiative. And I'll give you a quick example. I impulsively, not really impulsively, but like without too much planning, I threw out a date for the last Connect event about a month ago. I was like, we need to do another Connect event. I'm feeling it. I'm sending out a newsletter. It's going to be on this date, blah, blah, blah. And I just threw it out there. And the next morning, Sarah, who's my amazing, she's client care, but she's also sort of admin stuff. She emailed me and she said, I noticed, I saw your newsletter go out. I noticed that you scheduled that you announced a new Connect event. I'm going to set up a Zoom link for it. And I'm going to put that and the event, in your calendar for you. Because of course I hadn't thought to do either of those things because that's not the way my brain works. So my team is always looking, they're always kind of like, it's almost like a trust fall. Like I know that I can fall into inspiration, into like ideas, into like, let's do a new program. And my team has my back to say, okay, you want to do a new program. Let's look at all the pieces of that. And then they get together behind my back and do all the little like minutia nuts and bolts things. And that's really amazing. But it's taken vulnerability and honesty for me to say, like, there are parts of what I do that feel like an absolute hot mess to me. And if you're on my team, A, I'm going to show them to you. And B, I'm going to need you to solve for those pieces. So that's been a piece of up-leveling that's been, there was definitely a growth edge to that. And there was a lot of, I had to work through a lot of my mindset and inner pieces around feeling insecure or embarrassed or not enough. That was a big piece. The other thing that really happened that had to accompany the growth that In Arms Coaching has taken over the last 15 years has been money mindset. So when I was, before I started In Arms Coaching, I was living on about $17,000 a year in New York City supporting my kid. So there was never any money. Like it never felt like I had enough money. I'd never had enough money. But I also had this belief about myself that I we'll never have enough money. It will never feel like enough, because that really, in all fairness, that had been my experience most of the time. So I also had the belief that I was bad with money because there wasn't money. And it took my coach to say, what if it's not that you're bad with money? What if it's that you're trying to support a child in New York City and you're actually not making enough money, but given the money that you're making, you're actually doing exceptionally well. You both eat healthy organic food. You have a roof over your heads. You're both safe when medical needs come, like, what if you're actually doing really well with the money that you have and you just aren't making enough? And that was a real reframe for me, which is something that is so important about having a coach or support in some way, shape, or form. As my best boo, Jen Moore, modern medicine lady, says, you can't read the label from inside the jar. So you need to have someone in this process. You have to have at least one or two people who can read the label for you and who can share perspective. And that's a really big part of moving from new, young business to mature, evolving, profitable business. But the thing that I realized was that as I grew In Arms Coaching and I made more and more money, I didn't actually feel differently about the money that I was making. So when I started making $50,000 a year, and then when I hit $100,000 a year, I still felt like there wasn't enough money. I still felt like I was bad with money. I still felt like I still felt the same way that I had when I was making $17,000 a year. And that made me realize, of course, that it actually wasn't as much about the money as it was about my feelings about the money. So moving to moving to this level of owning a business really made me do a lot of mindset work around how I feel about money and how I feel about my own wealth and abundance. And that took a lot of work. Honestly, that took a lot of work, and it took a lot of looking at my old stories and what I learned growing up in my family of origin, and how I feel about wealth, what it would mean to me to feel wealthy, which was where I really had to start. Like, how do I feel wealthy regardless of how much money is coming in? Another thing that I'll say is that, and this sort of goes back to team, scaling and leveraging really requires a team under you, because it was probably at about a year and a half or 2 years, I hit a point where I couldn't do all the things anymore. And so one of the most effective tools to all the scaling and leveraging that I've done over the past even 5 years, so growing In Arms Coaching, starting multiple programs, starting the Rescue 4 years ago, which really is another business. It doesn't make us, it's not a profitable business, but it is 100% a full other company that I'm running all the time, with much more time spent on it in a way than In Arms Coaching, because it doesn't have business hours. And now we are starting a third business, and I have a book coming out. So the only way that I've been able to add more and more things as I've grown is to keep adding teams. So for every new thing that I add or that I take on, there has to be team to support it. And I'll give you one quick example. I don't want to make this too long, because I feel like I want to respect your time. But so for Pity Posse Rescue, a year ago, we were asked to take over another nonprofit's pet food pantry, which was a huge project in and of itself, which was one of the reasons why the woman doing it didn't want to do it anymore. I really wanted to do that. It 100% fed my bullseye priorities. If you've ever done my sacred structure tool or worked with me on the magic of bending time, you know about the bullseye priorities. It really fed my goals and my priorities. So it was a 100% a yes. But I knew that if we took it on, if the Rescue took it on, it couldn't be my project. I didn't have the bandwidth to start an entire other branch of our Rescue. So as I was saying yes, I said, who am I fooling? I said yes first because I knew that I could do this. But when I said yes, I then quickly assembled a team of 3 to 4 women who would hold that project. I got a coordinator for it, and I got 3 support people under her. And I sort of managed the assimilation of that project into the Rescue. And I was the coordinator's touch point, and I worked very closely with her, but she was managing it. She stepped in to hold that. It's almost like if you were going to build a structure, before you put the top on, you make sure there's a pole under it, right? You never extend the top, in my head. This makes sense. But you never extend the top without a pole to hold that piece, right? So it was very much, it's been very much, when I decided to write the book, as I was starting it, I made sure that there was, that I had people to support me, that I had a launch specialist to really help me do it well. As I'm starting this new business, with my husband, we made sure that we had the necessary personnel to support us. And that's like, it's both one of the bonuses of having financial security, like at the point where you have a mature business and it's making a profit, you can say, I want to do a new thing, but I'm going to bring on 3 new people to help. But it's also like the way that that thing becomes profitable. So it's kind of like a chicken or the egg thing, in that they both have to be there and they have to be there together, and you're not really sure what comes first, but they have to work in conjunction. So I hope that was interesting to you. I can't see any of your comments, unfortunately. But I'll go back and look at them when I finish this. But those are some of the pieces, some of the challenges and blessings of having a sort of more mature level business. And as usual, I would love to hear suggestions and requests from you about what to make a video on. I don't know what day we're at. We're probably at day like 9 or 10 or 11 of 30 days of videos. And I do want to say that I have a live workshop coming up at the end of the month on how to create focus in your business and your life balance. So we're going to be looking in the workshop, very hands-on, very like, small group of women with me. We're going to be looking at what your goal is for the year, and then what are the effective tools that you need to be using to move forward towards that goal. What are the strategies that are going to work for you? What's really aligned in how you promote and get visibility around your business? What are the pieces that you need in place to make that happen? So you can find it everywhere. It's up on my personal page right now. It's up in Sacred Biz Rebels. It's going to go out over the list later today. But I'd love a chance to work kind of in a very small, intimate group with some of you on what your magic is going to be this year and what your goals are. So thanks for tuning in. Leave comments, questions, what you put in your coffee, because that's very important to me to know about you below. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. Thank you so much. And if you like these videos, please share them. The more the merrier. And I really am doing these in part to connect with you, but also to meet new women and bring new women into the community to connect with them, because that's what it's all about. And we're all isolated in our homes here. So connecting with you is more important right now than it was before. All right. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. And thank you for tuning in, whether you're watching live or watching the replay.